Good evening and welcome to the 5 o'clock news. I'm Pete Ferryman.
And I'm Nora Hart. First at 5, we're learning new details about what caused a door plug to fly off a Boeing 737 MAX leaving Portland last January and the chilling moments in the plane afterwards.
The NTSB has just released the latest findings in their investigation. Fox 12's Julia Lopez joins us now in studio. And Julia, you listened to hours of today's hearing. What did you learn?
Well, we can now say the NTSB faults Boeing for the door plug flying off mid-air. They say this accident never should have happened and it traumatized more than 100 passengers. But the investigation reveals a lack of oversight by both Boeing and the FAA that begins early on the assembly line. Chaos at 16,000 feet above Portland. After a year-and-a-half-long investigation, the National Transportation Safety Board blames Boeing for a door plug blown off of a 737 MAX just minutes after Alaska Airlines Flight 1282 took off from PDX.
Frankly, it's nothing short of a miracle that no one died.
The board credited the flight crew for keeping all 174 passengers safe during terrifying moments and making sure 4 unaccompanied minors, including a 6-year-old on his first flight, were accounted for, along with 2 lap children under 2. But it wasn't until landing that they learned no passengers were lost.
The mom was on the floor just screaming like agony, and she was shaking. I was holding her. I said, "What's going on? What's happening?" And she just says, "I was holding my son, and I think my son blew out."
The NTSB found 4 bolts were missing from the door plug, which had been sliding upward for over 150 flights before it blew off entirely. The bolts were removed during repairs, but never reinstalled, due to what investigators called unstructured record keeping at Boeing and an inexperienced workforce. The FAA also came under fire for what the board calls deficient oversight.
I firmly believe there's one reason Flight 1282 averted catastrophe, and one reason only: the crew.
The pilots relied on hand signals and yelling to communicate in the cockpit after just hearing the word "hole." Crew members struggled to open and untangle oxygen masks, and 2 flight attendants reported lightheadedness due to a lack of oxygen. The NTSB said FAA-guided training lacks the reality of depressurization. Boeing says in a statement, "We regret this accident and continue to work on strengthening safety and quality across our operations. We will review the final report and recommendations as we continue to implement improvements." Now, the NTSB is pushing hundreds of new safety recommendations for Boeing and the FAA to implement over the next year, among them tighter protocols for lap children and greater safety checks at every stage of the production line. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says the federal government continues greater oversight at Boeing and will not lift a production cap on the 737 MAX until they're fully confident Boeing has met safety standards. Reporting live in studio, Julia Lopez, Fox 12 Oregon.